Determination, a quality that makes you continue trying to do or achieve something that is difficult. Nelson Mandela was determined. He was determined to make all laws equal for both blacks and whites in South Africa. Nelson Mandela's protests against apartheid law led him to ending apartheid and becoming a successful president and role model of South Africa. Apartheid was officially formed in 1948 by the National Party, which governed South Africa until 1994. Although it was officially made a law in 1948, racial discrimination in South African society had been around since 1788. When the Dutch settlers started creating laws that segregated whites and native Africans. It forced black Africans to live in reserves and not get as many rights as whites. It prevented whites from marrying people of other races, and it split families because some parents could be classified as white while children could be classified as mixed, therefore they could not live together. There were also protesters against apartheid like the ANC or African National Congress. It was a group of people of all races that helped fight to end apartheid law. They were formed in 1912 by Oliver Tambo, Jean L. Dube, Saul P., Pixley S., and Nelson Mandela. Another protesting group against apartheid was the PAC. The PAC, or Pan-Africanist Congress, was a group that broke off from the ANC, creating their own campaign against apartheid. They were created in 1958. After graduating high school, Nelson Mandela earned a degree from the University of South Africa. In 1944, he joined the African National Congress, but he soon felt as if the ANC was too cautious, so him and his two friends, Walter Sisulu and Oliver Tambo, created a youth league. In 1951, he was elected president of the ANC Youth League. In 1952, him and Tambo opened a law firm against the law. They tried to help South Africans avoid punishment under apartheid. On April 6th and again on June 16th, the ANC led thousands of people in mass rallies and strikes. The government banned over 8,500 people, including Mandela and Sisulu, but they received suspended sentences since they were not violent. He was then arrested in 1962 for protesting and sentenced to 5 years of high labor in Pretoria prison. He was then sent to Robben Island after 2 years of staying at Pretoria prison, and he would stay there for the next 25 years. His wife visited him after him being in prison for 3 months. She could not visit him until 2 years later due to the prison being so high in security. After that, she could then visit him every 6 months. When she visited him, they talked in code so that they could talk about how the ANC was doing without the prison guards listening. By doing this, he was able to get things across to her that would help to end apartheid. Nelson was finally let out of jail in 1990.
And the crowd getting excited. There's Mr. Mandela, Mr. Nelson Mandela, a free man taking his first steps into a new South Africa. Mrs. Winnie Mandela next to him, waving to the crowds. Hand in hand, they leave the Victor Verster prison. Officials, marshals of the National Reception Committee trying to get the people, and a salute from Mr. Nelson Mandela, his wife Winnie, greeting the people outside the fences of the Victor Verster prison.
F.W. de Klerk was president at the time. He was a white man helping to fight apartheid. De Klerk was the one that let Mandela out of jail.
I don't think you're the closest of friends.
Actually, we're close friends, not the closest in the sense that we see each other once a week. Also, we live apart. But he's been in my home as a guest. I've been in his home as a guest. When I go to Johannesburg, my wife and I have had tea with him and Gracia, his wife. No, we call each other on birthdays. There is no animosity left between us.
In 1993, Mandela and de Klerk both won the Nobel Peace Prize. They won for their work for the peaceful termination of the apartheid regime and for laying the foundations for a new democratic South Africa. In 1994, Nelson Mandela was elected President of South Africa. This was the first time that native South Africans were allowed to vote in a long time.
The time for the healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. We commit ourselves to the construction of a complete, just, and lasting peace. We understand it still that there is no easy road to freedom. We know it well that none of us acting alone can achieve success. We must therefore act together as a united people for national reconciliation, for nation building, for the birth of a new world. Let there be justice for all. Let there be peace for all. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. I thank you.
E benedictus fructus ventris tui, in hora mortis nostri.
Nelson Mandela once said, "The time will come when our nation will honor the memory of all the sons, the daughters, the mothers, the fathers, the youth, and the children who, by their thoughts and deeds, gave us the right to assert with pride that we are South Africans, that we are Africans, and that we are citizens of the world." Nelson Mandela and other anti-apartheid South Africans helped to end apartheid and set a good example of kindness for generations to come.